Hello everybody, this is the 19th lecture of the IELTS. Today we are going to take another example for speaking test. In part 1, we have these questions. Could you tell me your name and candidate number? My name is David Bond and my candidate number is 2132. Okay. You may ask what is a candidate number. Once you apply for the IELTS test, they will give you a candidate number. That is your number in the test. Okay, where are you from? Actually, I was born in Mumbai. That is a very big and overpopulated city, but I grew up in New Delhi. What kind of a place is it? Can you describe it for me? New Delhi is a nice city. It's got lovely weather. The people are very friendly and open, and they are also really sociable. It's got a lot of advantages. For example, there are lots of good universities, hospitals, shopping centers, and in fact, it's a facilitated city. Besides, it's a multicultural city, but it has disadvantages too. For instance, stuffs are a bit expensive, and sometimes we witness some major and minor crime in the city. Okay, if you notice when I answered this question, I gave the advantages and disadvantages. Why? Because I expected after this question that I will be asked about giving the advantages and disadvantages of living in that city. I mean, as a native person of that city. Here. So, I gave this answer. In this case, I will get a very, very high band score mark in this one. Okay, let's go on. What's your main meal of the day? Well, most of the times I have my main meal at midday and at work. It's usually rice with stew. A few years ago, I had no specific time for my lunch, but since last year, I arranged my time to have my lunch between 12 and 1 p.m. When I answered here, I gave place, time, and my main meal. I also played with the tenses, and this is really important because asking about my main meal of the day, that means I expect the other questions or the following questions will be when and where. So I answered them immediately. Expectation in the IELTS is really important. Why? Because you will give full answers before you are being asked, and in this case, you will get very, very, very high band score. Okay, let's go on. What sort of food are you into? I like different kinds of food, but tandoori chicken is my favorite. I chose tandoori chicken imagining that I'm from New Delhi or from Mumbai, from India. How many languages do you speak? I speak Indian, English, and a bit of French. I can speak Indian because it's my native language, while English language I studied it in school and I improved it through having friends from some European countries. I also took some French classes last year. Speaking more than a language is really important since the human communication requires that, and the fields of science require understanding and speaking at least two common languages. You notice when I answered here, I didn't say that the languages I speak only. No. I mentioned the languages, how I learned them, and why I'm speaking three languages. For example, indeed, you might speak two languages only, and that's something usual. Okay, let's go on. Part 2. You should talk about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. You should describe a building or construction that you have seen and impressed you. What was it? Where was it located? When did you visit it? What made you astonished about that building? Okay, there's something I want to mention about the IELTS. In the IELTS speaking test, it's okay to lie. As long as you are speaking good English, it's okay to lie. Why? Because they want to check your language. They don't want to check your honesty. By the way, this is not only my speech. You may ask anyone in the IELTS test, just like the testers, the interviewers. Okay, it's okay. Okay, for example, I have answered such a question. I myself have seen many constructions, and among them the one that caught my eyes the most is Eiffel Tower. My family and I went to Paris about 2 years ago, and I got the chance to visit this masterpiece. It's a huge and marvelous structure and was built in a way that really catches your eyes and grabs your mind. I do believe that in this century of technology we can design unique patterns, but considering the history of the tower, it turns to be something special. Now, let's move to part 3. Will you ever go back to this place again? Indeed. Indeed means sure. But I didn't say sure. Why? Because indeed is a higher band score word. Indeed, I'm really looking forward to visiting this place again. Maybe this time I get more chance and see more. What do you think is the most important element that makes a building a home, rather than somewhere to live? I think the emotional elements and belongings are the main factors contributing to making a house or a place into home. Your mother, father, brother, sister, and all that you love are among the most important. If you notice here, I used among, I didn't use between. Why? Because between we use it between two things or two people, while it's among three and more. As you know, there are many buildings in the town, but just one is your home, where you can relax and enjoy the peace. I believe home is where your heart is. Do you think homeless people are basically responsible for their own situation? I think it's a complicated issue, and we cannot directly put the blame on anybody or any group. There are many factors contributing to this issue, for example, unemployment, inflation, social injustice, mismanagement, and so on. And among them, an individual may be blamed for some cases such as negligence, addiction, violation, and all related factors that lead to breach of law and therefore unemployment and its fruit, homelessness. Do you think problems such as homeless are increasing in today's world? Indeed. Nowadays, getting a house has turned into a dream for most of people. Low income, inflation, redundancy, and other tangible problems and the pandemic of COVID-19 have made the condition worse for people. They scarcely earn their living, and a lot of people have missed their jobs, so it's increasing a day by day. So far, we have finished the lecture, but I have two notes which are really important for you to know. In, in English, if we don't listen to something, we cannot hear it well, we just say, I beg your pardon, which means sorry, I could not hear you well. In British English, we don't say sorry, I could not hear you well. We use I beg your pardon. When you use this one, I mean, if you couldn't hear or listen to a question well, use this one please, because it means that you are respecting the language. You are using a very high band score language, I beg your pardon. And please, I want you to play with the intonation. Don't say, I beg your pardon. No, please, just like me. I beg your pardon. Okay. Another use is that if you don't understand the question, which means explain your question in other words, use could you rephrase that please? Could you rephrase that please? Do not use paraphrase here. Okay, we usually use rephrase. It's not wrong, but we don't use it in this situation. Okay, now we come to the end of this lecture. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments. If you have any criticism, please write it in the comments too. If you like this lecture, just press the button of subscribe. Thank you very much. That was Mr Haidar ALcasseer with you. Thanks for watching.